Scott,
Mark?
ready for episode 12.
How in the world are we at 12?
Because
seriously.
we record in a very weird way.
Facts are facts.
It's true. Episode 12, Scott. We have made it this far, and apparently most podcasts crash after episode 3.
Are you kidding me?
No, not a wild statistic.
That is a crazy... Because, I have 3 podcasts that I listen to, and I'm like, they've been going on for years. And I'm just like, wait, podcasts don't make it after 3?
Yeah.
Oh, then we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. We're golden. Y'all stuck with us. And we're stuck with you, and we like it.
Scott, what has been on your table this past stretch of time?
Not a whole ton, in all honesty. So, truth be told, we did a back-to-back. We fixed one episode, getting to where we're back on track now. So, the plan was to play a bunch of games for me and one of my fellow theater geeks, Tara, while we were relaxing from Skate Wars. And so, I brought a bunch of games that I knew she would like. I had Intent to Kill and Flamecraft and all these fun games. And then we were both so stressed out, all we wanted to do was eat carbs and go to bed. And so
Intent to Kill will be a wrong game for that moment.
the reason why I brought that game is because she loves Clue.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a freaking genius, and I love her to death. And she was planning on actually teaching me chess.
Nice.
We were going to start, that whole idea that we had these nice, high-brainy games to play, and we both had enough stuff that happened to us in our respective fields, her being a skater and me being an announcer, that we both got back to the rooms and we just looked at each other and were like, is the pasta done? and I was the one that was cooking. I'm like, yes, the pasta's done. Here, have some carbs. And we had lots of carbs. Though my gaming group did get back together and we did play some Frosthaven. So It was nice.
I do know that you've been playing a bunch of Rolling Realms, though.
I've been playing a lot of Rolling Realms. Rolling Realms has hit my table pre-Skate Wars. Probably, I would say, maybe 5 of the 7 days.
I believe that.
Because it's just a nice little... And I have taken a little bit of a break. But the nice thing is that the new stuff that came out for Rolling Realms is currently sitting waiting for me to slot those into the spots in my game. And then I'll buy more of it. So, because I like it enough, I want that completed. So
Yep.
it's nice and done and pretty.
I do have the complete set now, and there's a lot in there, but man, so much good. Have you played actual Brass Birmingham yet?
I have not played actual Brass Birmingham.
We need to play it. I think you'll really dig it.
Yeah. So just so y'all know, the 3 games that came out for Rolling Realms are Genotype, Stamp, Swap, and Brass Birmingham. Yeah, I think Brass is the one that I'm most interested in actually seeing how it plays in the Rolling Realms.
It does a really good translation of that canal to rail era lip that happens in Birmingham. I'm very excited to see how you will approach that game, because it's going to be one that either you are going to be stressed out by, or you're just going to click on all cylinders and to be like, yep, again, let's go again.
Okay, nice.
So,
what's been on your table?
some fun stuff for me, actually. Rolling Realms as well, just because Redux is around and there's the new stuff, and I just like playing it. Great, easy throw on the table.
Yeah.
Some more Gentle Rain, because
Again,
it's
it's
been
a nice...
stressful and you've been zenning out with that. The stuff that's worth mentioning, Shards of Infinity. Mm-hmm. I got the Saga Collection box at Gen Con. I was very excited. I did not know this existed. The box itself is great because it has everything for Shards of Infinity in there. The actual storage solution inside the box is awful. Which is really frustrating. I had all these sleeves from Shards because when I bought Relics of the Future, which just great name for something, that expansion was miscut and you couldn't play them together with the base that I had. Got a second copy of Relics from the publisher. That one was also miscut. So instead of going through and doing that, they just gave me a ton of sleeves, like 1,000 sleeves, way too much. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use the sleeves that I have, despite the fact all the cards are now the right size and everything else. And it doesn't fit in the box. Like, it is crammed in there in the most obnoxious way.
I've played this, yes?
Yes.
Oh, wow, that is jam-packed.
It has a new solo mode, which is a lot of fun. It's hard to win. The full campaign is in there. There's some new expansions in here, some really good stuff in this box. I just really wish that the health trackers were better, because they're not as cool as they used to be. Instead of being like the full art, like whole thing, they're these teeny tiny little guys, and they're fine. It's whatever.
They function.
They function. But it's all all updated cards. There's set symbols and everything, so it's easy to figure everything out. I really like Shards of Infinity. I played it once. I got rid of my complete collection of Star Realms because this is the better game. Still love this game. Now I had that solo mode to go through with it. Ton of fun. If you like Shards, if you haven't gone in on it, this is the way to go.
Nice.
Just know that it won't fit sleeve cards very well. It's very frustrating. The next one is one that I have been adoring. It is one of my Grail games that I managed to track down that I really don't have that many left on that list. Maybe we can talk about that at some point. But this is Metro. And Metro, I got the big deluxe city box, and it's Turbo Suro. That's really what it is. It uses all the same tiles from Suro. The original game is from like 1997, so it makes sense to be in that realm. But for as much stuff as is in this box, and there is a lot in this box, it's still not complete because Queen Games has to do that, but it is one of the most interesting games of its type because every move you're making is both incredibly offensive and incredibly defensive because of the way all the trains sit on the side of the board. I think this is a phenomenal game. I don't necessarily know that it's worth as much as they want for it, especially since some of the cheaper versions are out there. But for somebody like me, where honestly, this is probably going to become like an heirloom thing for me, I love this game. I will play it at the drop of a hat. I will play it in person. I will play it on BGA. You say Metro, it's going on the table.
Yeah, actually, technically, that should also be on my what's on Beyond the Table because we played it the last time we recorded. And you're absolutely right. It's very much a offensive, defensive game because I forced you to shove me off the thing because you were like, there's no way I'm giving you 30 points. And you had to give me 15 or 18. And you're just like, I'm either going to give you 18, which is still a lot, or I'm giving you 30.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't want to do this. But you knew what I was going to do in my next turn.
You were doing the exact same thing to me.
Oh, yeah.
That game was a knife fight.
Yeah. Because I literally was just like, I'm going to just start shutting down these things so you can't get into the city. And couldn't do them fast enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have not played the solo mode yet. I've played it 2, 3, and 4. I love it at all counts. Ton of fun. Really enjoy this game.
Yeah. It was great.
And then the other one that, I mean, I've always got games of it going on BGA. I will play it solo on my table. I really wish its expansion was on BGA because the Marine Worlds expansion is phenomenal. It's Ark Nova. I adore Ark Nova. It's one of my absolute favorite games. I think it might be my most played game.
On BGA?
Just period.
Really?
Of the modern gaming era. Like, if you take out Bang and Sentinels and everything from before I was tracking and everything, I have played an enormous amount of Ark Nova, and I've just been playing more of it again recently.
Do you have the physical copy?
I have it right here.
Okay. I was like, so do I. I was just like, I didn't know if you actually had the physical.
Yeah, I have that. I love the game. It's big and long and fiddly, but I don't care. It is such a wonderful melange of all the things we have seen from other games, and it does it so well. And then it is improved so much further by that small little expansion. I love Ark Nova.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play the Marine.
Really good. We'll have to play it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game too because of its length. I don't think I should enjoy it as much as I do.
That's fair.
Because it's a long game.
It is also great to play real time. It is wonderful to play asynchronously as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Our topic of the week is one that I am frankly very curious to see how you're going to respond, because I put it on almost as a lark, and I'm like, well, this could be an interesting conversation, because this is a callback to a conversation we had all the way back in episode 1, where we were talking about collection management. Do you own too many games?
No. And next. I don't think I own too many games. It stinks that I don't get to play all my games, which then therefore some people would sit there and say, then therefore you have too many games. I just don't agree with that. I buy things for multiple reasons. One is because I want it, because ooh, look, shiny, pretty thing I like. 2, it might be, this was something I'm picking up because I want to support the store that it's in.
Sure.
But the other one is, I also want to support that company. So, I buy things based on those criteria in some sort of fashion. Sometimes it's all 3, sometimes it's just 1. Now, if you ask when a person walks in and sees how many I have, yeah, they're gonna be like, you have too many games because there's no way you're gonna play them all. I'm like, I don't care to play them all. I'm happy to have them all. This is my love letter to myself and my hobby.
That's an interesting way to look at it, because when I'm looking at my collection, I think I do.
Okay.
Because I am looking at it less as I want to collect, and more of I want to have something that I can interact with, that I have a known spot where I'm going to play everything, where I try and actually have my entire collection played. I keep a very lean shelf of shame. And I just enjoy having, these are the games I love. And especially as we're getting more review copies in, we're having to play stuff for other things like that. It is harder to focus on the games that I love and I want to play more frequently. So for me, I have been into a fairly aggressive looking at my collection, realizing, do I really want to keep this game just to keep the game? I may love the game. There are plenty of games that I really enjoy and I will happily table, happily shelf all the things. But if I don't think I'm realistically going to play it, or I think that it is competing for a spot in the collection, it's probably not going to stay. I really like Fantasy Realms, but over time, my response to Red Rising has simply gotten better and better and better. I think it's a more fun solo mode, and I just enjoy the theme more because it actually has that theme. I know the books, I care about the books. So there's a lot that made me look at owning both of them. And for a while, I was sitting there thinking, okay, I have Fantasy Realms for kind of 2-3 player count, and I have Red Rising for everything else. I got rid of Fantasy Realms because I just like Red Rising more. And I will happily play Fantasy Realms. Phenomenal game. But in my collection, because I do want to play everything that I own, I'm looking at what do I realistically still need. And there's certainly a few of those games that I own just for nostalgia or whatever. Like I have Mega Man, the board game. That's never going to leave. I spent so much time piecing that together.
Same.
It's not a good game.
No,
But
it's not.
For who I am as a person, I love that I have it. And I don't ever need to play it again, but it's one of those like just pure like items for Mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that we're looking at this fairly differently, but I mean, it's reflected in our trading strategies.
Yes.
Certainly.
Also, I think the way we both have our games stored is totally different. So I have a shelf that is dedicated to the games that I'm playing the most. Also the ones that are in my game bags, because I have several of them, because these are the ones I want to grab real quick and take with me. And then I have in the back portion of my house, I have another set of shelves that has all the other games.
Yeah.
Because these are the ones I know I'm not playing that often. Like Marvel's Legendary is there. A good portion of my Ticket to Rides are there. Actually, I think all my Ticket to Rides are there for that reason. Because it's just like, I know my group of people. My group of people are going to want to play Ticket to Ride. I have Ticket to Ride for me because I love the game.
Phenomenal game.
It's a phenomenal game. It should be in everyone's collection.
Can't disagree with it.
You know, I have 6 different copies of Clue, you know, and those are in the back portion. They don't come out that often because I guess it's the hall of retirement, I guess you could say. These are the games that I absolutely love that I can't see myself parting with because I got them for certain reasons, and everything that's quick access, they're up front because those are the ones I'm going to grab the most.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually have kind of segments of my collection that are, I don't want to say titled, but essentially titled of, here's the Ohio collection. Here's the Crane collection, the stuff I got from Dusty. Here's the Gen Con stuff, you know, all that type thing. And I have what I refer to as my game archives of the games that I own and I'm either not playing or I'm saving them for when my kids are older. Like the Scooby-Doo Betrayal, that's on there because it's fine. I'm going to play the regular one, but when my son is old enough, we're going to play that one.
Right.
So yeah, I understand what you mean by that, certainly.
Currently, I can still get through my house. I can get to my bed. Therefore, I still have room.
That's fair. So my collection I have given myself a strict limit. It has to stay within all my shelves.
Okay.
I'm really fudging that right now because everything I'm culling is sitting in a giant pile next to the shelves, but it's not on the shelves. And so therefore I have space.
I'm also looking at a new set of shelves. So I don't feel like I own too many games, but anybody that has, I'll be honest, any sort of sense would say, Scott, you have too many games.
Well, anybody with reasonable sense is going to say I own too many games.
And those are horrible people, and that's why they are not in our lives. So the next part of our of our episode today is why did I play that? And this is a unique situation because it is a game that Mark brought to me as why to get me because it is an area control game that ended up turning into a game that we're both like, why did I play this?
My track record of loving big epic space games is well known. It is not a secret of the things I love.
If I know that you're gonna like a game, if it's space based, it's already got like a rating of a 7, if as long as it's decent.
Yeah, I wish I could argue that. I really like space, like hard sci-fi space opera themes. I really do.
I mean, it's the reason why. I mean, we've talked it in an earlier episode. Deep Space D6. You probably gravitated towards it because it says the word space, and it is a space game. And the reason why you're so upset about it is because it's a space game that's not that good.
I mean, I've had entire episodes where I've talked about space games. My favorite game is Twilight Imperium 4. Eclipse lives in my top 20. It will always live in my top 20 at this point because second edition is perfect. That genre of 4X is wide and varied, and I think it works best in space because I think it gets away from some of the thematic complications that can happen with kind of colonialist ideas and getting into that murkiness.
Yeah.
So for me, space just makes more sense for 4X. The problem with 4X, or the benefit to it, if you want to look at it that way, is they need to be long. Part of the joy of that expand, exploit, explore, exterminate is scope. And so I'm willing to sit down with Eclipse for 3 hours. I'm willing to sit down with TI for 8, 9, 12 hours because the scope of the game, the arc of the game, the interaction with the players through a game of that scale is so interesting to me. Last Light promised to do everything 4X in an hour. And they're not entirely wrong, certainly, that it is an hour-ish.
Yeah.
I have so many issues with it.
The pieces are gorgeous. I love how all the planets look. I'll be honest, they could be a whole lot worse.
The planets themselves are pretty, but there are a lot of production issues.
Yes, there's a ton of production issues.
Gray Fox has production issues.
Yes.
What they do.
The board is okay. The cards are fine.
The big player ships are
okay,
weird.
But yeah.
The best thing in the box, without a doubt, especially in the retail edition, which the retail edition is still something in the order of like $80, $90. And I got mine on a dirt cheap sale, which is why I was willing to go in for the cost. Because this game at $30 is significantly different than this game at $90.
This game at $90 is, oh dear baby Jesus, why did I do this?
So the intent of the game is to give you that 4X experience where you are going to have your ships spread across this board. You are going to explore onto these planets. You are going to expand your influence from there. You are going to exploit those planets for their resources so that way you can buy cards and upgrade your engine. And then you're going to go into an extermination of trying to fight your opponents. And it's done with this interesting hand action system where you have a handful of cards that are going to tell you, hey, you can move your guys, you can build something, you can farm resources, and whatever happens, you are going to play simultaneously, kind of race for the galaxy style, and then you're going to resolve each phase as it comes up. Most of the time, you're actually just going to do it simultaneously because you're not actually going to need the input of somebody else. It's one of the reasons why it stays within that 60-ish minute time frame. The interesting part is the one card that will happen last in the order is command, where you're actually going to move your ships and then you're going to attack other people. And there's essentially no benefit to failing an attack as the attack. You want to constantly be in each other's face, and the way the board operates, at the end of a round, and a round only ends once every player has their refresh card on the table, the board is going to rotate, which means that that network that you've built of, hey, my ships have a line, all of a sudden, all my guys are, I'm in front of Scott. And now Jason's stuff is in front of me. It forces conflict and it forces quick conflict. And I am not inherently against the way that works. I actually think it is an interesting system. But combat is so unbalanced and it feels deeply unrewarding anytime it happens because you just kind of roll some dice and maybe your stuff gets luckier than mine and you blow up my little guys and I take out your entire fleet because I have better upgrades than you. It doesn't feel as interesting as something like Eclipse.
We played this with our buddy Jason, and I snuck in a victory in this game because the upgrades that we all were getting, I had every single ship, I ended up with the exact same ones because I kept drawing bad, I guess. I don't know what I was doing that caused me to not do as well as everybody else, but I literally kept drawing the extra movement card. And so the last play of the game, and it was mine to take, I literally was on the outer edge of the board and was able to use my movement to move every single one of my ships into the center and steal the victory.
Yeah, because I should have had you.
Oh, you should have had me by scads.
And Jason and I were only like a point apart, but you came in and you stole like 17 points. It was ridiculous. And we did not like the way that central scoring worked. And it's not because that won you the game by any means. But we were looking at like, boy, this feels really weird.
Yeah, agreed.
And it is a harder teach than it needs to be. The setup is intensely fiddly.
Oh my gosh, like trying to put on those little half rings and everything like that was annoying.
And then you have the readability of those little half rings on all the planets.
Are even worse.
And oh, by the way, those planets really, really vision impaired, unfriendly.
Oh, yeah.
They use planets that are red and green simultaneously. There's no distinctive mark. There's nothing about that to make that readable for somebody with a vision issue.
Yeah.
And then in the retail box, which again is quite expensive, you get these trays that don't stack right.
Nope.
And that's very frustrating to me. The planets themselves don't really stay on the pegs very well. Some of them are just like jammed in there and never going to come off. And the other ones, you blink at them and they roll off the board. It's very weird.
We rotated the board and like 2 of them fell off. And we're like, how? We're rotating it really slow.
Yeah. It's just a mess. And if you have the retail box where it's all cardboard tokens instead of miniatures for the ships, it's really easy to get lost of what ship is actually where. And because of the way the half ring things work to show the bonuses, it's really easy to get lost in what's actually able to produce, what's there. This was one that I almost went all in on for its first Kickstarter.
Really?
And I was in the process of going all in on the expansion Kickstarter when I found it on that ludicrous sale. And I am so happy that I only paid what I did for this, because this was one of the biggest disappointments I have had in a very long time.
Wow. There's so many misses. The dice, there's nothing. They're kind of wah. They're fine.
They're fine. Other than the planets, they're probably the best thing in the box. Yeah. And the best I can say is they're fine. The cardboard tokens for the resources feel weird. Like they are easy to mix up. I don't know. This is by far a trade for me. This copy's going to go. I do not enjoy this game at all.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 of us were all like, well, that's a thing that we did. Congrats on your win, Scott.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, yeah, I did great, because I was behind both of you because I wasn't getting into conflict. I was letting you guys fight your battles between each other. I was very happy staying well away from you both. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, well, I guess I could move up and I'll slide in here and try to get a couple things. And okay. And I did. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, we get points for every single ship. And I had all my ships made. Yep. And literally the last turn was
rush.
Zip.
Yep.
And I rushed. And there was nothing you guys could do to stop me, because I didn't have to go into conflict with you guys. I just had to sit there.
The fact that you can win a 4X game without ever engaging in combat, that's a bad 4X. That's a bad 4X game. We were in conflict at the beginning because the board rotated me into you.
Yep.
And I went after you. You did not go after me.
Nope.
And once I rotated away from you, I was then constantly in Jason's face. And the way he rotated, we were just constantly in each other's space. And so we were going after each other. And we just weren't paying attention to the fact that you were just sitting off to the side doing nothing. We did not factor you in. And you won because of a bum rush.
Yeah. Heck, I wasn't even factoring me in. I was just like, okay, I'm here until this game is done. Because I was already like, oh gosh, this is a style of game I don't enjoy. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make the best of it. And was like, I'll try to enjoy parts of it. And I didn't enjoy really any of it. And then to win the way I won, I won.
Didn't feel great.
Didn't feel great.
Yeah.
I mean, also, the fact that I was able to win that way is a huge problem of a game. Mm-hmm. Because that means you guys didn't score enough points in your battles that I was able to run in with all my ships and win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's ambitious. I appreciate what he tried to do. I know some people have absolutely loved it, but for me, it is wildness.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree. Hey, Bat Family, Scott here. Join me and my friends for a weekly live play tabletop storytelling game on Theater Geeks Twitch channel. Check out www.twitch.tv/theatergeeks on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Table.
Shelf.
And
Trade.
That's never going to happen again.
Nope.
So this is a fun one this week. I brought 3 games, one that I think you would trade, one that I think you would shelf, and one that you would trade out of my collection. And
into mine, probably.
Yeah, probably. These are all games I very much enjoy, and honestly, I think the one I enjoy most is the one that you would trade. So let's start there. WizKids is an interesting publishing house. I once did a lot with them with HeroClix. You want to talk about a game I've played an enormous amount. Bang, there it is. And they were kind of a mixed bag on their productions for a long time. Then they released this particular game, and starting from here, their productions have been pretty top-notch ever since. And that is Gates of Mara. Gates of Mara is a deeply underrated game that it came out, hit, and vanished immediately, and it is a real shame. Scott, this is not one that you particularly enjoy because it is area majority at its heart.
Okay.
But it was a worker placement game that allowed you to have asymmetric workers. Each player, and it is a 2 to 4 player game, has 2 workers that are, I believe, circles, 2 that are triangles, and 1 that is a hex, and then 1 that's something else.
That's right, I remember this one.
And what's interesting about it is each worker type is allowed to hold a certain amount of upgrades. And whenever you place that particular worker on the board, you get to trigger all of their upgrades. And so your 2 circles are going to be different from each other because you're going to upgrade them differently. And there is an array of stuff on the board for each of the realms that you're trying to control. And depending on where you place the worker and the type of worker place is going to determine how much influence you get within that. And then you have these djinn that go around the board and add extra abilities to the realms that they are sitting in. Some really neat ideas in this game, a beautiful production, a surprisingly easy teach, does take up a lot of space on the board, but it does also scale very well. I have enjoyed this every player count that I've played it at. I really wish there was a solo mode. Frankly, I wish that people remembered this game existed because this is one that had it gotten expansions of extra factions or different realms or different djinn, there's a lot of cool space that is within the game that just got left behind. And I absolutely love this game. It is super cool how it works. I love the idea of the unique asymmetric workers. One of my absolute favorite games. This is by far a shelf for me, and I really wish more people had known about it when it came out.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember this. I don't think I did like horrible at it. I just don't think I really enjoyed it. This was like really early when we started getting into you and I playing around again.
Yeah, this was fairly early on into our gaming relationship, and I don't know if you would like it any more now than you did then. I think you would be more open to the ideas that were there, but I still don't think you would particularly care for the game. But for me, it hits on just all the high notes. It's super cool.
My first game, I'm going to go from game that I don't care for anymore, then move it to my shelf. So I'm going to start with my trade. You had your game a couple episodes ago called Deep Space D6. Mm-hmm. I think that game spurned on several other versions that have come out. The one I'm going to talk about is the Choose Your Own Adventure House of Danger that came out in 2018.
I've never gotten to play these, and I've been interested in them. It's a shame to hear that you're putting them on the trade pile.
Just because, personally, unlike a Choose Your Own Adventure book, which I grew up with, which is the reason why I was such a book nerd in the first place, it didn't have the same feel. I think it's a great concept. I think other people will enjoy it way more than I did. But for me, it was just a really big miss. I think probably some of the same problems that you had. When you were talking about Deep Space D6, I was having the same problems with Choose Your Own Adventure House of Danger. Because you're going through a strange house and hoping that it works well. But again, you're rolling dice. And if you roll bad, you don't have any options. Just kind of
because I've never actually looked at it enough. I just know the books and I know that particular one, and so it seemed interesting. Is it done via board and dice? Is it a deck of cards? Like, how is it actually executed?
It is done with a deck of cards, and there is a small board that you use, and it's one of those things of like, if you get this, then go to this card. So it's almost like a little bit like the take-home escape rooms as well. Yeah, there's nothing that really makes me go, man, I'm really glad I got that game. I played it several times and was like, I just had a really bad episode. Okay, I just had another bad episode. Okay, I've had a third bad episode.
At that point, it's not a bad episode.
It's not a bad episode. Because, yeah, you're trying to get, like, psychic power, but also the danger increases, and you're collecting stuff so that you can have a bonus to the roll, and I want to like it because of the nostalgia feel of it being a Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Sure.
And it just doesn't do it.
Bummer.
Yeah, it really is.
My next one, I picked up before Gen Con. I learned about it on the Gen Con preview list, and I found it in Target as part of their 2024 fall refresh of their games, which, on a completely separate note, I've been very disappointed in the refresh. There's like nothing there of interest other than this game.
There's nothing up there anymore.
And this is a Ravensburger game. It is like $35, and it has one of the most overwrought titles I've ever read for a board game. It is the Chronicles of Light Darkness Falls Disney edition. Just a ridiculous title, but a really cool game. It is one that, for its price, the production of this box is insane. The tokens are all really nice. The minis are fun to play with because they're these cool, like, fractal versions of these Disney princesses. And it's just a really neat idea in a box, where what we have seen, I think, done very well and encouragingly, especially in the board gaming space from Disney, is, hey, let's throw all of our universes together. And in this one, you are going to be playing cooperatively as Maid Marian, Belle, Moana, and Violet from The Incredibles. It's a weird array of choices.
Yeah, like when I saw it coming up for Gen Con, I was like, Belle, Moana, sure. Maid Marian?
Interesting.
Violet?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I could kind of get away with Maid Marian, but then you throw in Violet, and like, why? But it worked. And each heroine is completely asymmetric. Every piece of the game is appropriately color-coded, so you know whose stuff goes to who. They even include a bag for each character in their colors, so you can just hand somebody, here's the yellow bag, you're playing Belle. Yep.
Everything you need is in there. Really great production. The game itself is an interesting co-op game where you're going to build a modular map with all these map tiles. And depending on who is in play and how many people are in play, you're going to adjust the size of the board and the amount of bad guys on the table. And each player is going to be playing their own mission and doing so cooperatively to try and figure everything out. Because at the end of 4 or 6 rounds, it feels like the right length when you're playing it, but it also feels like that's not going to be enough time.
Right.
Because what's interesting about the way the game works is during a day, the team is allowed 6 actions. And so you are sitting there trying to figure out, okay, if I, as the Moana player, go and I take 2 of the 6 turns, then I can get these things done. And that means that I may short you a turn as the Maid Marian player. But if I wrap my mission up first, that gives us extra abilities. So that way we can focus more easily on your stuff. And then once we have everything done, we can go fight the big bad in the center of the board or wherever it's sitting. Some really, really neat ideas in this box. I do wonder about its long-term replayability because there are only a few different missions per each character, and honestly, there's not a ton of variety amongst them. It's normally go to a space, find the token, take the token to another space, go fight the thing. As a family weight game with a really well-executed theme, because each princess does feel like a decent representation of their film counterpart. I think it's a lot of fun. This is a table for me. This is a game that I picked up for Natalie, and I had a feeling she was going to enjoy it. She did enjoy it. Really like this. This is going to stay in my collection, but for most people, I think it's going to be a table just because I don't know about the long-term replayability. And if you are the type of people that are going to only have, 6-10 games in your collection, I don't know if you're going to want to keep replaying this one over and over and over if you don't have other things to intersperse with it.
I played as Violet, and one of the abilities I ended up getting was I had the car. I had the family vehicle. And so I picked everybody up, carried them so many spaces, and then dropped off people as they needed to. And
then as Moana, I was able to rush across all the water and end up where I needed to be for almost no action cost to the team.
Yeah, and that was what was so crazy, was that we had those abilities available. I think if Ravensburger is smart, what they'll do is give us 2 characters, put them in a box, give us another couple tiles, like actual map tiles.
Well, remember that Villainous is Ravensburger.
Yeah.
So give us some extra packs like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 people in the box, give us their tokens, give us their little bit of story, and then you make them more modular. Now, I don't think you're going to want to sit there and do like Ravensburger has done with Villainous and sit there and have everybody, but like we've got purple, yellow, orange, and red. That means we need a green, we need a blue, we could even have a dark purple, like give us a couple more colors, maybe expand this out to a total of 8, maybe 12. And then there's enough that we could all, like, because of the 4 princesses that are here, none of these I would have actually chosen.
Well, these 3 I actually would. Violet's the only one I'm like, really? Belle and Moana I absolutely adore. Maid Marian I actually really like. I have a very soft spot in my heart for that movie.
Oh yeah, Robin Hood's a great movie.
But I think the other fun thing about this is that for once we're actually seeing the mixed universes being the heroines. It is almost always the villains that we see thrown together. Because even if you're looking at something like Kingdom Hearts, yeah, the heroes are there, but you're there to fight the Disney villains.
And also typically, if there is a thing that they're throwing the heroes together, it's usually male heroes. So this is the first time it's all female heroes.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a fun game. Yeah, this is a total table for me. My next game, gosh, I did not realize that this game was as old as it is. This one goes all the way back to 2013.
Oh, geez.
And this game, I'm pretty sure you have it. It wouldn't surprise me if you also have the nice mat that goes with it, because I am talking about Concept. I
have never played it.
You've never played Concept. I love Concept because it's one of those games that I get to play that I don't have to talk. As much as I like to talk, as much as I like to communicate, I think the fact of having the ability to try to communicate without saying words is extremely difficult. And I think it's another reason why I like games like Mysterium, where I'm trying to get you to think like I'm thinking, and the fact that I'm just putting these pieces down going, okay, it is an object. It's not a person, but I'm going to start talking about it like this way to make you think about these things like, oh, humans could use this thing. Okay, so now I'm thinking of, okay, so maybe it's not going to be that big or anything like that, and get you into that scope of thinking. And we've played it where it's been competitive. We've also played it where it's all like, just see how fast we can do it, with how many clues that we're using. But the fact that Concept sits there and you're trying to guess words, you're trying to guess objects, like, because the board is big. It's
relative. I've seen it play.
Because it's like numbers, and then like where does it fit in the world type of stuff. Is it transportation or is it a video game?
One of the most routine and pedantic arguments I've heard about this game is it's not really a game, it's an activity. And with the way that people really enjoy this, and people really enjoy it, I put it in that same realm as Just One of, yeah, there may be a scoring system, but that's not what you're playing in Just One.
No. And it's such a lightweight game because literally it's just, how can I get you to think of a bumblebee without saying bumblebee, And so, yeah, I've always enjoyed Concept.
What's the player count on it?
Honestly, as many as you want.
Okay.
I mean, it says 4 to 12, but like my buddy Rowdy and I, we've played it before, and there was just a couple of us because we're just sitting there going, okay, this is the one I have. Wonder how fast they could get this. It's that cool. Easy of a game.
Yeah, that's what I definitely want to try.
So Concept, it's published by Repost Production. So that was the latest one that did it.
You know what my next game is. You haven't seen it, but I know you know what it is. What is it?
There's so many things that we've done. Hopefully, I mean, honestly, if it's the one that is this the one that I want to steal from you?
Yes.
Then it's Message from the Stars.
Yes.
And now that you've brought it out, that means I want to play it tonight.
No, it takes too long. So, A Message from the Stars In a previous episode, you mentioned that all play doesn't hit for you in a shelf way very often.
Right. But when it does,
They almost always hit for me.
okay.
I have a very good track record with all play. I love what they do. I picked this game up sheerly on the strength of a recommendation from Jen.
Hi, Jen.
And then, no offense to her, I had one of the worst teachers I've ever had at a game.
Bad Jen.
I know she watched me like deflate through the process of this teach because I was so lost in what was supposed to be happening. And I, after having read the rules and after having played it and after having taught it, I understand why that teach was so rough because she hadn't played it yet. Yeah.
Wait, so she got you to buy a game that she actually hadn't played?
She knew about it. This was like her game of the show. I think this might have been the only game she picked up.
She was like, look at my haul, isn't it great? And it was just that game.
And 2 dice from Robin's Nerd Supplies.
Well, yeah.
And so literally, I went out and I picked it up just on the strength of her recommendation. And if it weren't for that one random dude walking by, it's like, oh, I really like this game. We're like, cool, play with us. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know that this would be in the position it's in. Because after that first play, I then understood it. And then I taught it to you, and you got it really quickly. So A Message from the Stars is a cooperative team-based deduction game where the teams are essentially one versus all. You have one person as the alien who has a Mysterium-style board in front of them with an array of letters that need to correspond to a couple different requirements on the player boards. These letters all have mathematical values attached to them. And so when the alien passes a message to the human team, they are going to have to write a single word and then come up with the value of that word based on the letters that matter. And so the humans are then going to sit there, discuss amongst themselves, try to figure out what information has been given to them, try to figure out what the equation actually is to try to figure out what the important letters are. Because at the end of the game, you're going to score 1 point for each letter you have correctly identified in its space. So there's 6 points there. And then each side, humans and alien, have 3 words that they are trying to get the other team to guess, and that's a point apiece as well. So 12 total points in the game. That fact that you're trying to match the words is really what makes the game. Because I can't just give you the word fork, because if that isn't related to any of the words on my side, I have given you a terrible clue. Mm-hmm. So there's so much going on. This is one of those games that it's like Cryptid, and that if the person sitting in the alien seat makes a single mistake, the game is shot. So it's very fragile in that sense, where you cannot make a mistake. But if you have somebody that is good in the alien seat and you were able to parse and figure out the words, I almost gave you my copy. I told you, depending on how it went when we played, because I was not confident in myself after that first play, that I would be able to continue to teach the game and play the game and do it in a way that I enjoyed. That first game with Jen, we got 12 points. There were 4 of us playing and then her, and we got all 12 points. When you and I played alone, I got 11 points.
Yep.
And I felt so good about that it has essentially a permanent space in my collection because it is so unique. It does things that are so unlike anything else my collection even attempts to do. And it's one of those, if you want an hour-long sit down and just boil your brain, to this one.
Yeah. By the time that this episode comes out, this game will be in my collection, and it will be in my collection for about a month. The fact that you are making me wait, I hate you, but that's okay. It's fine. It will still be in my collection because, it's such a great game.
I have never had you look at me after a game and say, again, that fast. And you will still just send me the random text message of like, so when are we playing Message from the Stars again?
You were going out of town, and you were like, I know I'm not going to play this game. Do you want to borrow it? And I did, and I played it with my buddy Eric twice. First time we got 10, and that was me as the scientist, and it was because I missed one little letter. But the second time we got an 11 again. Yeah. And that was me as the alien. I'm like, obviously I just need to be the alien the entire time because, gosh, I'm good with my words.
There's one thing I want to note about the game, and this is one of those things that I think All Play is great. I love the fact that they offer things at reasonable prices, and then they have deluxe upgrades. Mm-hmm. Not all the games, deluxe upgrades are needed. Like the coins for Mori, I get what they're there for. You don't need those. This is one of those deluxe upgrade kits that I think it is a mistake that it is not just basic in the box.
Right.
Because you get these really super nice dice. And you get these little display consoles that you kind of have to figure out how to fold up, and there's no guide for it. And it's a little weird to figure those out the first time. But if you don't have those, then you essentially have to keep your cards secret, just kind of like laying down, or there's a little clip that just sits there. So it's kind of, it sucks because it can fall over real easily, and that can throw a lot of things off. And you only have the one die. So there's only one in the box instead of the 6 absolutely gorgeous, glittery purple, pink, blue dice that these are. These are phenomenal dice. If you are picking up the game, it is a deluxe upgrade, but more importantly, it is a distinctly functional upgrade that I really think you need in the game.
One of my favorite games that I actually picked up from Gen Con a couple of years ago sits in my wheelhouse because it is another word game. I love it because it is a cooperative word game. The biggest issue that I have with the game is that sometimes you don't get the letters you need, and that causes an issue because then you're like, okay, these are the letters I have. What the heck can I spell with this? And it is the 2 to 6 player game from Czech Games edition called Letter Jam. I do love this game.
Never played it.
Never played it. It is a total shelf for me, and let me tell you why. One, the one thing I do love is that you can, if you want to, download an app. On every card, there is basically like a little mini QR code, and you can scan each of your cards in that you have collected, because you shuffle a deck of letters and then you deal them out to everybody. And if you're bad at making words, you can sit there and scan everything and it'll go, hey, these are the words you can make with these cards. And everybody's trying to make a 5-letter word. You take your 5-letter word, you put it face down, you take the rest of the cards, and that becomes a communal deck.
Is this the thing that has like the Hanabi rule where you can't see your own letter?
Yes.
Okay.
You shuffle your word and then you pass it either right or left. Depends on how you want to play it. And then there's a smaller deck that you have to whittle through before you run out of cards because you want everybody to score. And when I picked it up at Gen Con, of course, it came with the deluxe edition, which was these fantastic, like, weighted poker chips. But yeah, you flip one of your letters, and I can see everyone's letter but mine. And then you sit there like, yeah, I can create 6-letter word using 4 players' letters. And eventually you go, yeah, Mark, you can make your word. So Mark makes his word by sliding the number tokens to each other. And then based on what we can see, you write it down and then you leave the gap if it happens to be your letter. And then you're like, if you think you know what your letter is, you're like, I think I have an A. And if you're correct, great, you have an A. If you miss, there's nothing major that happens to you, but you just missed. The only downfall is if I'm really good at making words and I go first, I'm out until everyone else has made a word, has sat there and said, okay, I can make a word with this. So eventually the person that's going to be the most going to hold back eventually has to do it. But hopefully by that time, there's enough stuff that's
There's
happened.
enough information.
There's enough information that can do it. The other nice part about this game is that, let's say I've gotten all my letters. Mind you, once I solve them, they still go face down. You go until everybody has figured out their word or you're out of cards. But what happens is that, okay, I've figured out what my letters are, or I think I figured out what my letters are. I then draw a card from the deck and I put it in front of me. Then I'm still playing the game, but then those letters go to the center of the table and it becomes another letter that we can use. So then we're adding even more letters that are constantly there. So especially if it's like a vowel or something like that, good, I'm throwing vowels for everyone to use to sit there and figure it out. The last part about the game is that you look at the letters that you've been given and you try to unshuffle them and put them into whatever the word was that that person gave you. So the nice thing is, if it just so happens that the word could spell something else, so like I knew that the word was yacht and I said Kathy for whatever reason, that means I have all the letters right. I've just come up with a different word. It still works. It still means we win.
Nice.
Or at least I've done my portion for the win.
Sure.
The idea is that everybody gets it. So you don't want to have too hard of a word, but you don't want to be completely easy because also you're going to use all the vowels and stuff like that. And I just really dig it. It's a fun one. It'll stay on my shelf.
It's interesting that you bring this up because I actually just listened to a content creator video where they talked about this game just offhandedly.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that I really expected it to be in the general like board gaming conversation for a long time based on when it came out and the kind of pedigree around it. And that thing just vanished.
Yeah, it completely dropped off the face of the planet. I love the fact if you can't figure out a word, you can scan it and it'll figure it out for you. I don't make really hard words. Of course, I play with my friends down in Fort Wayne, and so we pick inappropriate words, and you can just think of those off the top of your head. And yeah, one of those words was in there. Probably more of them. But that's the way you can play it, you know, and it's just a fun laugh. I've had games where I've seen a letter pop up and I'm like, really? You gave them that? Like, we have to deal with that letter?
My only other question for you is it sounds like you're going to want more players than less for this.
It does help because there is a question mark card that gets put in the center. But once you use it as one thing, it has to stay that thing for everything. So like if you had the Q and there's not a U up, that has to be U. And then therefore you can't use it for anything other than the U. So then it's, how many words do I know that are Q, U, and then have more Q's in it? So take that as you will. I enjoy it. It's a great family game.
It's one I'll definitely try.
Yeah.
I've just never gone out of my way for it.
Yeah, and you don't have to because I own it.
We are back in our rotating feature. This is Visions of the Future. I brought two things to this. One is an expansion for something I already own, and the other is a new game that is crowdfunding and is not going to be out in time for this episode by any means.
Technically I have three, but I'm just going to talk about two of them because two of them I'm really, really excited for.
Why don't you go ahead? Start us off.
Hey, big shocker. First one, X-Men Dice Throne. The more I see about the X-Men Dice Throne, the more I kind of get excited. I'm really honestly looking forward to the X-Men Adventures portion because they've made like little board maps and everything like that. And a lot of the X-Men characters that weren't created as actual characters for the game are allies that you can receive, and I just really, 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 really want my hands on it. I don't 100% care to do the normal stuff with Dice Throne, which is the combat portion. Like, between players, I want to do the cooperative stuff, because I like my X-Men. I'm really geeking, and the CEO for Roxley, he popped on, he said, it's like, oh, and we decided to upgrade the one set of dice for Iceman. We decided they're all like swirly, and I'm like, I love that you're just that excited about it because my God, I can't wait to get it on my table.
My expansion is also for something that I absolutely love, and you have not gotten to play yet because I'm a bad friend, I guess. It is also a long game, and that's really the worst part about it. It's long, and its setup and teardown takes a little bit of time.
Right.
But you are in that prime target audience of who I would play it with, and that game is Millennium Blades.
Oh.
And Millennium Blades, if you have a background in CCGs, hello, I have decades of it.
Seems.
It is such a blast because you set up essentially a block draft style deck, and you are playing through a sealed event where you are mimicking all the things that would happen of trading cards and buying packs and doing all the fun, silly CCG stuff. And it is a 2-phase game where you're going to play a timed phase of actual pack cracking and deck building. And then once the market phase and everything finishes, you go into the tournament phase and you play with the deck you built. You play that 3 rounds, 3 times, and then the game's over and highest score wins. It is chock full of pop culture references. It is already lampooning Yu-Gi-Oh! From the jump because Millennium Blades is literally a 1,000-year-old CCG and every card is still legal. It's ludicrous on its face. And there's just a couple more little decks coming out called the Multiverses Beyonder, and then all the promo stuff that I don't have, which is pretty much the only content I don't have because I have Collusion, I have everything else. It's just more stuff to play with, and that game already has too much stuff to play with, but any excuse to pull Millennium Blades back out. Jake and I have played it a bunch of times. I think you would like it. It is a lot of fun at 2 and 3 players. Really, the only downfall of the game, like I said, is it's long, and if you don't already have that love of CCGs, if you don't have that background to understand what you're doing, it's a confusing mess of why am I doing this? But if you have that meta knowledge, it gives you all the feelings of cracking packs and building crappy decks and doing everything you can do in that short amount of sealed time. So much fun. I adore Millennium Blades.
My next one, I'm really excited to receive it for two reasons. One, when it came out, it made me very happy because it's a resurgence of a company that I have an absolute fondness for because of earlier games that they've had. Plus, also, they offered for an additional small nominal amount to get one of their other games that a buddy of mine had, and then he moved and took that game with him, and I really enjoyed that game. And this would be Plaid Hat Games' Wandering Galaxy, a Crossroad Games.
That was on your Gen Con preview list.
And the reason why I wanted to preview it was because I had Kickstarted it. I wanted to see what it was going to look like. And I didn't get over there to actually look at it. And part of me is kind of kicking myself, but the other part of me is Plaid Hat has had a nice history of making some really good games that I have enjoyed. And with the Kickstarter, I was able to also pick up Forgotten Waters, which I love Forgotten Waters.
I haven't got to play it yet.
Oh my god. Well, once Wandering Galaxy comes in, I will be bringing it with Forgotten Waters because that game also is just absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that the two games combined only cost me $100, I was that's not bad. So I'm really looking forward to it. The fact that I just like the name of the join a ragtag starship crew traversing the edge of charted space, risking life and limb at a reasonable rate. Yeah, this just sounds like fun for me. It's kind of sandboxy, and you're creating characters, and as you're completing stuff, you get to increase certain portions. I don't know if they're doing the similar thing that Forgotten Waters did, where you are filling in a constellation, but part of me kind of hopes that they do, but then again, part of me hopes that they don't. I don't know how you feel about it, but it does have a book mechanic, but you're just putting your pieces on the board as a worker placement. It's not like you're doing combat or anything like that. It's literally just for the worker placement.
I have never been a big fan of the books. I remember when I played it with another of their games, actually, Comanauts. That was something that I just got real turned off on. And every time I've played through a book since, the most recent one being Leviathan Wilds, I still just felt about it. I totally get why you would design a game that way because it simplifies setup and all the things. Yeah. Totally understand it. It's just not a way that I've enjoyed interacting with a board in a game before.
Okay. Well, guess what? They do the same thing with Forgotten Waters.
I know.
But I still like it. And
I'm thinking of Dead Reckoning. I've not played either of them. I want to play Dead Reckoning. Forgotten Waters, I saw the book thing and I was out.
Okay. I'm looking forward to Wandering Galaxy. So maybe you'll forgive it a little bit because it's a space game.
Oh, I mean, I'll happily play it. Oh, you know me. I will try anything at least once. So my second one is a game that I am still very much on the fence about, but my love of the theme is intense. This is Cyberpunk 2077, and I went through and dumped 125 hours, something like that, into my playthrough this year. I had never played it before, and I have never been that engaged in an open world game. I have never felt like I have role played in a video game more than with my V. I love it. The board game is an interesting mix of a few different things where you have character creation and customization and a whole bunch of mission structures and scenarios and all kinds of stuff that you can mix and match and do stuff. And a lot of the characters that I love are in the game. The fact that Jackie is there, the fact that Judy is there, all these wonderful things are put into it. And it seems like they really know and love the thematics that they're coming out with. But it's also a real-time game in that you have those like 2-3 minutes, whatever, burst of getting everything done. And it's also run via a digital companion app. Now, the app, from what I understand, mostly is just like narration and then a timer, but that is something that we talked about. I keep in mind. I don't know. I know there's the Afterlife mode, so there's endless customization. There's the repeatability of it. I am very excited for the Edgerunners expansion because I will go back and rewatch Edgerunners multiple times. I've done it already multiple times. It's a super great show. I don't know. This is one that if it gives me what I want is going to replace Tamashii in my collection because Tamashii was close, but it was a miss for what I wanted. And I'll talk about that in a future episode. I've been meaning to review that, but we'll get there. Yeah. I think my love of the theme, I think the fact that they are handling that theme well will go a long way. Also, for how much stuff is in that box and the price of everything, it's actually pretty solid. So I'm excited to see, honestly, where my reaction comes down on this one, because I'm in love with Cyberpunk 2077. It's one of my favorite games of all time at this point. So I really want to try the board game.
Cool. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for listening to us. If you would like to get in touch with Scott and myself or any of the other theater geeks in relation to Board All the Time, you can hit us up at boardallthetimegaming@gmail.com. You can visit us on our website, boardallthetime.com, where we will have a newsletter sign up as well as a feedback form. You can also join us on our Discord. The server link is in the episode notes. And finally, you can find us on Facebook under Board All the Time.
At this time, we'd like to thank our sponsors. Do you like shiny math rocks? I like shiny math rocks. Go to Robin's Nerd Supplies and use the code TheaterGeeks and receive 10% off your order. Links to the website is in our episode notes. Also, we'd like to thank EcoL Press, a local printing company here in the South Bend area. Happens to be a union shop, and they do everything for your gaming printing needs. And what's so nice is that they're environmentally friendly. You will also be able to check them out in our episode notes.
And now we say what we always say, Scott. I'm
Rutabaga?
so friggin' bored of you.
Yeah, I'm pretty bored of you too.
Go play some board games.
Yeah, Message in the Stars.